You're gonna want to see this one. It is no secret the radical left engages in character assassination of their political opponents, where they attack the personal character, motives, and other attributes of an individual without giving them any room. Their favorite target, however, has remained the former President Donald Trump. In the CNN interview, the director of Anne Frank Center, Stephen Goldstein, accused him of being an anti-Semite because his remarks supposedly did not go far enough to address anti-Semitic hate acts. He even went as far as trying to bully Kayleigh McEnany into silence because he just didn't like the facts and very sound arguments she was making. But before I delve deeper into it, check out the clip.
After Trump's remarks today, you came out very forcefully. You wrote, the president's sudden acknowledgement is a Band-Aid on the cancer of anti-Semitism that has infected his own administration. His statement today is a pathetic asterisk of condescension. Make no mistake, the anti-Semitism coming out of this administration is the worst we have ever seen. That is a serious charge.
Absolutely. Erin, time and again, this president has had an opportunity to condemn anti-Semitism. He had a chance to include Jews and Holocaust rememberers. He didn't. He had a chance to speak out against the desecration of Jewish cemeteries this weekend. He didn't. He had a chance to speak out against bomb threats against JCCs, and he didn't. Today, when he was forced, obviously by some staffers, because it came several news cycles after, he finally spoke out.
Those are some serious accusations by Stephen. The radical left constantly accused Trump of being anti-Semitic, anti-everything, really. The most absurd one was him being accused of being an anti-Semite. In my opinion, when analyzing Trump's actions and statements during his presidency, you'll see a different picture and how baseless these claims are, including his Jewish family. By the way, do subscribe for more discussions like this. Throughout his presidency, Donald Trump took several actions that demonstrated support for the Jewish community in Israel, which are typically inconsistent with anti-Semitic behavior. The most notable action was when his administration famously recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy there from Tel Aviv in 2017, a move celebrated by many in Israel and the international Jewish community as a strong show of alliance and support. Trump's administration also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, further cementing his commitment to Israel, which was a key issue for many pro-Israel voters. He also had a strong stance against the boycott, divestment, and sanctions BDS movement. His executive order aimed at combating anti-Semitism on college campuses, particularly movements that exclude Israel. Additionally, Trump has had significant personal and familial connections to the Jewish community. His daughter Ivanka converted to Judaism upon her marriage to Jared Kushner, and he has Jewish grandchildren. The couple also acted as advisors to the former presidents. Trump always speaks warmly of his family's Jewish ties, which proves a personal connection to the Jewish community. Yet this man will not accept it, and Kayleigh explains the situation further in the next clip.
Kayleigh, what do you say? He was asked about it directly twice in the past week. There were all these incidents. It wasn't until his daughter tweeted yesterday that he then suddenly, in a prepared speech that he read, said the words.
For those wanting to give the president a fair chance, you would have heard him condemn anti-Semitism. I have his exact quote from the first time he was asked this question. He said, "I want peace in this country. I want to stop crime and long simmering racism." That sounds like a condemnation to me. But some people on the left are using the veil of anti-Semitism and the charge of anti-Semitism to further their own political causes. It's dangerous. I agree with Alan Dershowitz fully that we should not be loosely throwing this term around.
Let us know in the comments what you think, but what I think is absurd about the radical left is that they fail to differentiate between constructive criticism and using accusations of anti-Semitism as a political tool. Accusing a political figure of anti-Semitism without clear evidence does more than tarnish an individual's reputation, trivializes real instances of anti-Semitism, and thus weakening the fight against genuine bigotry. This use of anti-Semitism is a political tool that can also be dangerously divisive, polarizes public opinion further, and detracts from necessary efforts to genuinely address the root of anti-Semitism and all forms of racism from society. Just think about it, if every policy agreement or political rivalry escalated to the level of moral accusation, finding common ground becomes increasingly challenging. It's essential for the political discourse to adhere to the level of integrity that resists the temptation to use such serious accusations lightly. The approach not only maintains the seriousness of real anti-Semitic acts, but also promotes a healthier, more productive political atmosphere. But it was clear that Stephen had an agenda, and he was here to shove it in our faces. Even though Kayleigh was giving him facts, he insisted on making his arguments. Watch the clip to see for yourself.
I've got to ask you straight on. So you think the president does not like Jews and is prejudiced against Jews? You think that about the president of the United States?
You bet. And do you know why?
Wow.
And wow is right, Kayleigh. Do you know why?
Does he hate his daughter? Does he hate his son?
You know what, Kayleigh? I am tired of commentators like you from the right trotting out his daughter, trotting out his son-in-law as talking points against the president's anti-Semitism. They are Jewish, but that is not a talking point against anti-Semitism, and that is a disgrace.
Let's dissect your statement.
Have you no ethics than to invoke people's religion as a talking point?
Let's make this a dialogue.
That itself is anti-Semitic.
Let's make this a dialogue instead of a monologue. Do you think the president dislikes his daughter?
Okay.
Answer the question. Answer, because you said he doesn't like Jews and his daughter's
Jewish. I'm under no obligation to answer a curveball question.
Because you can't answer the question.
Because it's a nonsensical question based on nothing.
That's the pinnacle of modern leftism, friends. They prioritize ideological conformity over open, fact-based dialogue, leading to a discourse environment where opposing voices are silenced rather than engaged with constructively. The modern media landscape doesn't help either. More and more people are seeking out news and opinions that reinforce their pre-existing beliefs, which leads to creation of echo chambers where one is exposed only to information that confirms their views. Over time, this can diminish individuals' capacity to critically engage with opposing perspectives or facts, strengthening confirmation biases. When conforming with conflicting information, the reaction may not be thoughtful reconsideration, but aggressive defense of the established position, which is exactly how Kevin reacts. Kayleigh also lays down her arguments clearly, but facts that undermine core political narratives for the left are seen as threats, not just to specific arguments, but to broader ideological or political goals. As such, Kevin ignores them rather than acknowledging and addressing them. Such tactics go into their grand strategy of establishing a form of cultural hegemony, where their views become the dominant narrative across major cultural institutions, including academia, media, and entertainment. Obviously, Kevin wasn't done acting like a toddler on national television and went as far as doing this.
There is a flaw in your logical reasoning. You told me the first thing you said is the president dislikes Jews. The second thing you said when I asked, does he dislike his daughter? You said, I don't have to answer that question.
That's very nice.
There's a flaw
That's very
in your
nice
reasoning.
for Breitbart News, but not for CNN. You are using fake news arguments. Shame on you.
You are using
because you just didn't watch what was on there. He responded about the electoral college.
True, though?
Well, he stood next to the prime minister of Israel, who said, I've known this man my whole life, essentially, Donald Trump, and he is the greatest defender of the Jewish people I know. And I think it's very sad that we have liberal commentators, Steve in particular, who is using charges, vile charges, like anti-Semitism and racism with no evidence behind it.
Kayleigh's right. The Prime Minister of Israel did say that.
You're doing a disservice to your own cause. Because by throwing out farce charges of anti-Semitism, you're neglecting the times where there actually is hate that we need to put a spotlight on.
Honestly, kudos to Kayleigh for being able to stand this guy. He resorts to mocking her instead of trying to understand where she's coming from. Kayleigh's right when noting her words lose their meaning when used excessively. Carelessly tossing around accusations of anti-Semitism dilutes the public perception of its seriousness. If everything is labeled anti-Semitic, then nothing is, in the sense that the term begins to lose its impact. This in turn leads to public apathy when real incidents occur, as people dismiss them as just another accusation in a sea of overused claims. This limits the ability of communities and law enforcement to respond with the urgency and gravity that true anti-Semitic acts require. For advocates against anti-Semitism, credibility is the most potent tool. When someone like Stephen makes unsupported accusations, it damages the credibility of broader advocacy efforts. Public figures and leaders have a responsibility to maintain a level of decency and precision in their language, especially on sensitive issues. Emotional outbursts or this childlike behavior Stephen has only leads to their points being taken less seriously. I think the left needs to understand that misrepresentations lead to confusion and misinformation, impairing effective education on these matters. When facts are distorted or misrepresented, it prevents people from making informed decisions. It also undermines initiatives aimed at promoting understanding and solving problems.